You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is John Chrismone. This show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every single Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time to help you mastermind to grow your real estate business. We ultimately started this show, State of Real Estate, years ago. I think it was like 2015, 2016, something like that. So we've been doing this for years, every single Friday. And it's been with the purpose of helping our students better understand how to build a successful real estate career. Because we're founded at the Tampa School of Real Estate on the principle of we're not just here to give you a course. We're not just here to even just get you to pass an exam. We're here to help open new doors and new opportunities and enable a brighter future. So look, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got more. Are you studying for your Florida real estate exam? If you are, you need to check out our Pass First Try strategy. You're gonna love this. It's 4 steps that we break down the process to study for your Florida real estate exam. So you're set up to pass your Florida real estate exam because that's what you're studying for, right? To pass your exam. It's 4 steps. Number 1, you learn the information. You've got to learn this to be able to pass the exam, but it doesn't stop at learning. Step 2, you've got to reinforce the basic, simple, key concepts. As you learn this information, keep reviewing the simple things. You don't need to know everything, but you got to review these basic key concepts. Step 3, you've got to test your knowledge. The exam's going to test your knowledge, so if you don't test your knowledge in advance, you won't find out if you know what you think you know until you take the exam. And then step 4 is be confident and prepared, because even if you know this material, you need to be confident that you know the material. Check out the full strategy at passfirsttry.com. That's passfirsttry.com. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is John Chrismone. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. Today, we're talking about business planning and goal setting. We've got 2022 just around the corner now. I know today it's only December 3rd, so it still is like a month away. But not even really, we have 31 days in December, so what do we have, like 28 days left before 2022 is here? And you don't want to wait till the last minute to be planning your entire year, especially if you're trying to do something that's different than what you've been doing this year. So, this being all about business planning and goal setting today, I'm curious what your goals might be. So, if you'd like to share those, we're live on Facebook right now. I've got the chat loaded up. If maybe you want to pass your real estate exam, maybe you want to get enrolled just in a course, or maybe you've already got a real estate license and you want to get your first deal done. Maybe you've already done a sale or maybe 2, but you want to try to get a repeatable, scalable business built out of it. So whatever your goals may be, and I want to take a couple different scenarios today. So let me know if any one of those resonate with any of you, because we could hone in on one specifically. If again, maybe you're new to this and you're just trying to get started, and even look, even if you're brand new to this, your end all goal, just like our end all goal at the Tampa School of Real Estate, isn't just to get you to pass a real estate exam. It's to help unlock a brighter future, to have a better tomorrow with more opportunities. To ultimately, if you want to build a real estate empire, you could do that. But you got to start somewhere. And if you don't plan, there's a saying, and the saying goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You fail to plan, you plan to fail. Because you don't want to just simply drift through life, just taking it as it comes. That is one way to do things, but it's not something where you'll be able to intentionally influence the results and the outcome of your future. If you, again, do want to build that brighter tomorrow, that better future, the fastest, most efficient way to get there is having a plan that might need some revision. Of course, this is not necessarily meant to be the end-all, be-all. You know, and look, coming from me, I'm not necessarily a planner. My wife, on the other hand, she likes to plan everything. down to the last detail. Me, I'm a little bit more spontaneous about things. But that being said, even though it's against my free-spirited nature, if I don't have a plan, I plan to fail. And I've experienced that firsthand. Because when you don't have a plan, when you don't have objectives, when you don't have milestones, when you don't have checkpoints to hold yourself accountable to, you end up just kind of drifting through things. And eventually you'll probably get to where it is that you want to go, but it might take a lot longer. You know, maybe if you're starting a new real estate business, you could run out of money before you get successful if you don't get it up and running within that a certain amount of time. Now, maybe you have unlimited income to start a real estate career. Maybe you've got so much money you don't even know what to do with it all. You don't even know how to spend it all. Well, then you'll get successful someday. You can afford to make mistakes. But if you've got, you know, maybe let's say you're starting out full-time in real estate, you got 6 months of income saved up. That's great. That's what's typically recommended. I don't know whoever came up with the 6-month rule, but that's usually a good rule of thumb from what I've seen, from what people have done, is if you're jumping into real estate full time where it's going to be your primary source of income, having a 6-month buffer is what's typical. Now, you don't want to wait 6 months to make money, because my point here is, what if you get to the end of those 6 months and you still haven't figured it out? You're just kind of drifting through, just kind of seeing what happens, just kind of dipping a toe in and let's see what happens. I hate that phrase. Let's just see what happens. No, because if we just see what happens, it's not going to be what is going to be most beneficial to you. And this is important even when you're choosing a real estate broker, because depending on what you want to do with your real estate license, there's certain real estate brokers that might be a great fit for you and others that wouldn't be a great fit for you. But if you don't have a plan of what you want to do with that license, you're a lot more likely, again, to end up hitting one of these. You know, imagine you're floating down a river and you don't have any map. You're just floating down the river, just drifting along through this river, no map. And occasionally you bump into some things. You don't want to row. You're just going to kick back because the flow of the river is going to carry you along. Occasionally, yeah, you might bump into some things, but your raft can take it. It's pretty resilient. You bump off a little bit, and it gets a little rocky sometimes, but then you might notice things starting to speed up as you're drifting down this river. And you're like, wow, cool, things are really moving. But the problem is, if you're not the one driving that movement, well, why is the river all of a sudden getting so much faster? And the reason why a river would be getting faster is because of gravity. Now, look, I know we're not here for a science lesson today, but let's take like Niagara Falls, for example, one of the most famous waterfalls in the world. If you look at the water before it goes over those falls, it starts getting really, really fast. So the point of this story, the moral of the story here, is if things start to speed up when it's not really you controlling them speeding up, could be great if you stay on a course that doesn't lead to a free fall. Now you might say, well, if you have an oar in the boat, you might be able to paddle your way out of it. But if you've just been drifting through life, drifting down this river without exercising those muscles that you need to intentionally take control, you're going to have a hard time steering away from this waterfall. So how do you avoid this from happening? How do you avoid this figurative waterfall from happening in your life where things just start speeding up out of control? Because, you know, things moving fast can be good, or it could be very, very bad. You know, have you ever heard the expression of when it rains, it pours? That could be interpreted in a good way and a bad way. Because, you know, sometimes bad things do pile on, but at the same time, good things can pile on as well. Especially when you're taking intentional efforts to get this planned and set up. So again, getting into what I want to talk about today, let's say that you're brand new to real estate. And if you're at a different stage in your real estate career, if you've got different objectives you're trying to achieve, let me know on Facebook in the chat. We're live right now at facebook.com/Tampa School. And you could actually chat in live with us. I've got it loaded up right here. But let's assume that you're brand new to real estate, because I'm assuming we've got probably quite a few people watching today that are new to real estate, that are maybe considering a real estate career. And again, the way you want to approach this isn't just necessarily thinking about, I just need to pass an exam, because no, that's not what you want. That's not why you're taking this course. If you've thought about a real estate career, maybe you've seen it on TV, and that seems interesting or exciting to you, or maybe you've had a friend or family member that you've seen do well in real estate, and it seems like it's pretty easy, and it seems like it's a fun way to make money and work, and you get to be your own boss and make your own schedule and all these things. So you might have seen all of this stuff before and have been interested in a real estate career, but then maybe you haven't done it yet. But then as you start to research the intricacies of taking the course, passing an exam, getting fingerprints done, doing an application, joining a broker, taking post licensing, and all these little things, you could very easily get distracted from what's very important. Starts with a V. Let me know in the chat if anyone knows what I am writing here. Another I in there. But your vision. Your vision. Now, and sometimes you could go right along with that with like a mission. Now, if you've ever worked in corporate America before, these words probably mean nothing to you. And that's maybe not the case. Maybe you've been at a workplace that's had a great culture. But chances are, if you're considering a new line of work, a new career, a new thing, maybe it's not as good as it could be. One of my favorite expressions is the worst enemy of great is good. Good is the worst enemy of great. But what does that mean, that good is the worst enemy of great? Well, goodness stops greatness. Good enough is what holds people back from becoming great, achieving great, being epic, being something bigger, larger than themselves. So these words right here, they've been tainted by corporate America. Real estate isn't corporate America. Real estate, you're your own boss. You make your own business. There needs to be a local, at least to the state, broker. So now, granted, there's some big real estate companies out there, and if you don't like big corporate culture, you probably don't want to join one of the bigger real estate brokerages. There's tons of independent operations out there that are much, more direct, more hands-on, things like that than you typically see with, larger, again, especially if you're allergic to the corporate thing. But even if you are allergic to the corporate thing, if these words have been tainted by some job it is that you did not like or enjoy in your past here, you got to appreciate what these are for and ultimately the purpose. And the reason why I would say you were probably, if you've got any bad taste in your mouth about these words, vision and mission, I would say, again, it's probably because what you were trying to do or what your life goals are weren't really aligned with the vision or the mission of the organization that you were working with. If you've ever had a job that you've really liked, that you've really enjoyed, and I have as well, I've worked in corporate America and enjoyed it for a period of time because I was aligned with the vision and the mission of the organization. I was aligned with the purpose. It was bigger than just the money. It was bigger than just the job. It was bigger than just the paycheck. But when my future started to align differently, when things started to change in what I wanted, and also what I noticed that, maybe the organization I wasn't, living up to their vision and mission the way they should be. Maybe I saw things that maybe they could have done differently, but, me being just a small cog in the wheel, you can't, take that control. So over time, I grew and I adapted and I changed it, and my vision and mission for my future was completely different than the organization I was associated with. And that can be very toxic because when you're on these diverging paths of you wanting one thing and having to do these other things that contradict what it is that you want, it's going to tear you apart. Literally, again, these diverging paths will tear you apart. And that's why, again, getting back to why business planning and goal setting and understanding this stuff is important for even just joining a real estate broker is because you don't want to be in an organization that's going to tear you apart. You don't have to be. There's so many brokers out there that are actively recruiting new agents and all different flavors of real estate brokers with different compensation packages and different offerings and different value propositions, different levels of training, different levels of support, different levels of things that they provide to help you build a successful real estate business. And so often people are boggled by, well, what do I do? Which one is the best one for me? And if you find yourself asking that question, you either don't know enough about that organization to understand whether or not it is a good fit for your business model, or you might not be sure yet of your business model, of what you want the vision and mission of your future, of your career to look like. Welcome everybody tuning in, whether you're watching on our website, tampaschool.com, Facebook. Let me see if I can get the YouTube loaded up, because I know a bunch of people watch on YouTube as well. I'll see if I can get the chat loaded on that. For any questions it is you guys have about anything it is that we're going on here, I think a lot of the stuff we've talked about so far is going to be pretty universally applicable, whether you're brand new to real estate or you've been doing it for a while and maybe you're trying to get better at business planning than maybe what you've done before. But let me know if there's maybe a different stage of the career it is you're at, or any way it is I can make this information more relatable and useful to you. Because that's, again, ultimately what we're here to do on these shows, is we're here to help, primarily our students, but we open up these live streams to everyone, including, anyone who might want to be a future student. And even if you have a real estate license, hey, come take continuing education with us. Yeah, welcome Mike, Frank, Michael, Shayna. There, we got the YouTube loaded up, so if you're watching on YouTube as well, I'll pop over and check out that chat there in case anyone has any questions. But let's dive a little bit deeper into the vision and the mission. And let's just do an example. And let's say this example is if you're brand new to real estate. And look, if the whole idea of vision and mission confuse you of making them two separate things, me too. Me too. It's probably redundant and unnecessary to have two different statements, because then they could potentially contradict themselves. And the people that might have MBAs and Masters of Business degrees, that type of thing, you might say, well, technically, according to textbooks, a vision is this and a mission is this. Look, I get it. There might be some sort of textbook definition that makes these things really different. But if we're going to simplify these things down, our number one core value we have at Tampa School of Real Estate is to keep things simple. And the reason why we do that is because simple gets things done. You make something complicated, it's now more difficult to accomplish. So this essential step of business planning, how do we make it easy? Well, but let's just break it down to what it really needs to be. What do you want your future to look like? What do you want your future to look like? That's question number one in business planning and goal setting. That's how you establish that. If you want to formalize this anymore, and you don't have to, because the reason why you're doing this business plan is so you have something to hold yourself accountable to. But all the steps it is you develop will be meaningless and pointless if it's not all geared toward your vision, your mission. What do you want your future to look like? And this could involve many different things. This can involve the money. I mean, obviously, that you got to make money in real estate unless you're doing this as some sort of like charitable venture or something like that. You got to make money. So money is at least some portion of this, if it's not the most important thing. Probably the most important thing for a lot of people, especially as you're starting to realize the whole model of selling your time. Because that's what you do if you have any sort of job where you're compensated based upon you being present. And maybe you could do that remotely now with there's a lot of remote work that's available. But at the end of the day, if you have to sell your time by the hour, by the day, by the week, or by the year, if you're selling your time, and just selling, not necessarily investing your time, because you cannot just invest money. It's possible to invest money in a lot of different things, but what if you don't have money to invest? Well, that's where you invest time. It's the combination of these two things. These are your currencies. These are your two currencies, time and money. When people say time is money, no. Time is so much more valuable than the money. Because let me ask you this. What is the maximum amount of money? Who could look up a rule, a law, anywhere? In the United States, at least. I don't know if there's laws like this in other parts of the world, but let's assume that you're in America, in the United States. Is there any place in America, and I would probably say for the rest of the free world, is there any limit on the amount of money it is that you can make? Now, they're probably going to tax you more and more and more as you make more and more and more money. But then on top of that, if we're talking about real estate and all the people that get villainized for having all these tax deductions, if you want to know how they do it, what's their secret? It's real estate. Not necessarily selling real estate, but investing in real estate. And you might be wondering, all right, well, I want to invest in real estate, not necessarily sell real estate. Well, selling real estate is an amazing stepping stone that could get you to investing in real estate a lot faster. And when you understand your vision and mission of you want your future, if you want your future maybe to involve investments. I mean, that's what you need to be thinking about, whether you're making investments in your business or you're investing in real estate. You're going to be investing these two things. With real estate, yes, you could work for it like you work for a paycheck and just basically take the money it is that you're earning and just go spend it all on nice things. You could buy cars, you could buy shoes, you could buy clothes, you could buy jewelry. I mean, you sell a $333,000 house at 3% commission, that's a $10,000 commission. You can buy a lot of nice stuff with that. And the thing is, you should treat yourself to the things it is you want. You should reward yourself when you're doing a good job. But you don't want to spend all the money on the perks, on the benefits. Because if you're never reinvesting in building something bigger, you're basically just employing yourself. You've gone from having a job to owning your job. And if you're unhappy with your job, you're unhappy with having a job, you probably won't be happy with simply owning a job. Well, how do you get something more than just owning a job? And what does that mean that you own a job? Well, it means, again, that you have to work, that your income relies upon work. If your income relies upon work, well, that's a job. But if your income doesn't 100% rely on your work, because you can't just simply hit the switch and, all of a sudden just make money off of, say, being an investor. Because the other end of the spectrum, being a real estate investor, where you're getting passive income, rental income, I mean, that is where you have basically zero work, zero effort, and you're earning money on a regular recurring basis. But the problem is, I mean, even if you own one property and you rent out that one property, even if it's cash flowing like $1,000 a month, let's say you've really got the numbers dialed in right, or maybe you own it free and clear, whatever the case may be, and you're making $1,000 a month. It's only $12,000 a year. I mean, don't get me wrong, making $1,000 a month on a piece of real estate would be great. And you could even make more than that, especially if you're doing like this crazy Airbnb stuff and things like that. But then you're investing your time as well as money. Compared to, let's say, doing an annual rental, an annual lease where you have a tenant for an entire year, that's not really going to require much investment of your time, especially if you have a property management company. But if you're turning over maybe 200 tenants a year because you're renting it on a nightly basis, well, that's going to involve a lot of work. You're basically running a hotel, which is a business. And a business requires more work than an investment. An investment would be something to think in terms of an investment, something that could be completely passive. You make money just by putting money in. You put money in, you get more money out with no work. That's the true investment if you're looking for a true investment. And that's something you could do with real estate, especially if you've got budgeted in cost for property management and all the things that would be the work you would normally have to do. You could outsource all that work and just put the money in and get the money out. But then the catch is, in terms of return on your investment, now, real estate is typically going to outpace any other investments by far, but even let's say you're making a 10, 15% return on your investment. If you've got only $100,000 invested, let's say, that's only $10,000 a year, $15,000 a year. So the way you make the money with investing isn't necessarily just having one property, it's having 100 properties or 1,000 properties. Then that's quit your job, don't have to work, live life on a beach money. Maybe that's what you want your future to be like. Maybe that is what you want. And look, let me know in the chat here loaded up what it is that, what are some of your fantasies? So keep it PG here. I mean, what do you want like your future? Is it a big house? Do you want a private jet? A private island maybe? Maybe cars are your thing? Maybe you just want to provide to allow for your your children to go to whatever school it is they want, but the thing is, those things are so easily accomplished. There's real estate agents out there making over $1 million a year in commission. Over $1 million a year. And there's nothing saying that you can't. Maybe you're not in the position to do that right now, but if you've been in my shoes and done what I've done for as long as I've done and seen the transformations that not necessarily everybody who goes through this process will come out a completely changed person, but almost everybody changes in some way going through this year, becoming more capable, becoming more confident, becoming more comfortable, getting out of their comfort zone. That's what doing this does to you. It makes you a more capable person, especially when you're planning this all out. But yeah, so money and time, that's what you're in investing. Now, when you're starting out, you're probably going to have a lot heavier investment in time. But you want to be careful that you're not just solely investing your time, because if time is your only investment, that's a job. You want to, again, build this more into a business. And this might involve something as simple as having an assistant, a team. We'll say a team or staff. People to support you. People to help do all the things that you're not able to do just as one single person. And then when you're building something bigger than yourselves, when you're giving others opportunities to improve and better and become more and earn more, well, you're going to be a byproduct of their success. And that's why you see so many real estate teams out there. Now, as a new agent, if you are ultimately trying to build into this, now, I'm not going to say that all teams are structured this way, but there's a lot of teams that, if you get too good at what you do, where you don't need the team anymore, why would you stay on the team, especially when you can make more money working independently? So the horror stories I've heard from a lot of people that have been on teams, and this is maybe what they want. So again, it gets back to the vision and the mission. So for some people, maybe being on a team, having the larger support system where you're maybe not going to make as much money as you possibly could, but you want to be not necessarily the leader. You want to be part of something bigger than yourself, but not necessarily leading something bigger than yourself. If that's the case, then that's where I would definitely suggest a team. But if you do want to be the person that is leading your own team one day, and even if that's just a team of yourself, because with the team environment, the commission splits can be higher. So there might be some point in the future where you do want to branch off and break off on your own, but you might not know how to stand on your own 2 feet if you've had the luxury, the benefit of having all these other people on this team helping you there. So again, maybe joining a team right away from the get-go as a new agent, that would make sense if your vision and mission is to be the best agent on a team. But if your vision and mission is to be the leader of your own team, well, that's where I would seek something out where there is some sort of development program. Especially if you're brand new to real estate. Look, when you're taking your pre-licensing course, if you haven't taken that yet, your pre-licensing course is laws and rules and basic fundamentals about how real estate is done, which is important to know, not just so you stay legal, but so you could pass the exam to get the real estate license. But then after you have your real estate license, there's a course called post-licensing. And this is essential that you take this course as soon as possible. It's a requirement by the Florida Real Estate Commission that you do it by your renewal deadline, but you don't want to wait to your renewal deadline. I did that because I'm a procrastinator. And if you're a procrastinator, having a written plan is absolutely going to help you. Trust it from somebody who's battled that war for years with my inner demons of procrastination. Having written plans and goals. Try it out if you haven't already. But anyways, when I started in real estate, I didn't have written plans and goals. I didn't have a business plan. I didn't even really know what I was doing. I joined a real estate brokerage that had training, but the training it was that they offered, because it was a larger international brokerage, it was a franchise company. And with these international franchises, the franchisor, usually if they have training, it's not often state specific to where it applies to the laws and rules. So then a lot gets left onto the broker to teach more the nitty gritty day to day. How do you be successful in real estate? Which, when that broker bought into a franchise business model, they probably weren't wanting to do that. They wanted a turnkey package. That's not necessarily always the case, but that was kind of what I picked up on it at the brokerage it was that I joined. They had training that was offered from, again, the corporate level, as well as some like little trainings here and there in the office. But for me as a new agent, I was lost. I was confused, and it was because I didn't have a plan, because I wasn't intentional about my actions, because I didn't join a brokerage that was designed for new agents. I just joined a brokerage that someone recommended to me that I thought was cool, that I didn't do any research on. I just kind of went right in there. When I sat down with the broker asked me, well, you kind of know the deal and the package and everything we offer, right? And really the answer was no. I mean, I had known somebody that had worked with that organization for many years, but I knew the basics of it, but I really didn't know everything there was to know, or really even, again, at least tell me. Well, what should I know? What would you normally be telling me if I didn't know now? Because now I feel like I'm getting cheated out of this experience. But it wasn't just unique to me. Most brokers are, again, they might have a plan that works for them, and they might have benefits and values that appeal to you. But is it what's going to align with your long-term goals and vision? And if you don't know what those are yet, you're very likely to find yourself, again, just lost and confused and not knowing what to do. Now, had I taken post-licensing right after I got my real estate license, one of the first things we cover in our post-licensing curriculum is business planning. Much more in depth, and actually where you're doing the calculations and numbers for, you want to make this much money, okay, here's how many buyers, here's how many sellers, depending on what percentage you want of buyers and sellers, and again, going through in a much more detailed, thorough basis of how do you build a realistic, real-world business plan to set yourself up for success. Because that post-licensing course, not just the business planning, but all of it is all about real-world business information that you need to know to actually use your real estate license to its fullest potential. And it's not going to teach you everything, but it's going to get you started off in the right direction. And again, it's a requirement. If you plan on being in real estate longer than 18 months, you're going to need to take this course. Otherwise, your license will go null and void when your license expires. And that's between 18 and 24 months from the date that you get your real estate license. But let's say you do this course right away. And now you've got a business plan and you've got more figured out of what it is that you want to do with your real estate license. Is this set in stone where it doesn't change ever? No. This is something that you're going to adapt with and evolve with over time. And what it is that you want may change as well. And that's why you got to make sure that you're really going after something that makes you want to get out of bed in the morning. Something that gets you excited. If you give me a goal of I want to pay the bills, all right, well that's a great goal. We all want to pay the bills. But there's probably a lot more potential that you have than just being able to pay the bills. And you might say, oh, I want to take a trip. I want to take a vacation. Well, okay. It's a good start. But it doesn't really sound that specific. So you should always try to make your goals specific. Not just that you want to go on a vacation, but you want to go to the Greek Isles and dine in Santorini and suntan on a yacht. And now it's easy to get wrapped up in, all right, yeah, I do want to do all that. Let me go ahead and look this up on Travelocity right now and see how much this is going to cost me. And look, I've been there. I've been guilty of going down a rabbit hole of all the things money can buy. And it's good to do that every now and then, but you don't want to waste all your time just figuring out how much it's all going to cost. But you do need to know how much it's going to cost to make your goals specific. Because if you don't know how much it's going to cost, it's not going to be real. If you just make the idea of, yeah, I want to go to Greece, I want to, do have a vacation there. That's still not specific enough. What is the dollar amount that if you had this money in the bank, you'd be able to have your dream trip to Greece? That's what you want to be thinking about. That's what's going to get you excited. And you know, maybe you don't want to go to Greece. Maybe you want to go to Hawaii. Maybe Canada. Maybe Mexico. Maybe Australia. Maybe Antarctica. I don't know. Wherever. Maybe you don't want to travel. But maybe you want to buy a really big house. Or you want to get a big yacht. You want to buy a private jet, because that's why you don't want to travel, is you don't want to go sit on a plane with a bunch of other people. So you want to go get a private jet. Or maybe you don't want to buy a private jet. Maybe you're fine just renting private jets. That you could charter jets do that. That's fine. But get specific. How much is this going to cost? Don't just say $100,000. It's a made-up number. Anytime these numbers end in zeros like that, it's made up. Prove me wrong. It's like a miracle when you're doing realistic actual math and accounting and you end up with 0.00. Sometimes it happens, but not always. So, and especially when we're determining cost of things, yeah. And you want to make this real, because if you just put a fake number up there, then that's one more fake piece of this puzzle. And the more parts of this that are fake, the less real this is going to come to you, the more this is just going to feel like some dream, some fantasy that's not really attainable. You need to make this real. And we're going to talk about how we convert this into what you actually do with your real estate license to get to that there, but coming up with exactly numbers for these goals. They should also be measurable. They should be specific and measurable. Again, don't just say you want to go to Greece, but all right, it's going to cost me $23,543 for what I want to be able to do that's going to get me really excited that I might not even be able to get to do this year. But I'm going to set myself to this because I've been wanting to do this my whole life. That's the type of things that you want. And again, maybe it's buying a bigger house, or maybe you want to live in a high rise. So I live in a high rise today, and I think it was back in maybe 2010. I think it was maybe about 2010. I remember, and I was in no position to afford these condos that I was looking at the time. It was completely unrealistic. But what did I do? I went and I toured some new construction high-rise condos. And, I went in there pretending like I had the money. They weren't asking for pre-approval, so I was like, oh, yeah, I think I might just buy one of these cash. I'm a real estate investor. The whole positive thinking of speaking in what you want to be in the future. And I remember the double doors. That you open up, and then all of a sudden these grand floor-to-ceiling windows with this amazing view of Tampa back here. Well, which one of these cameras shows Tampa the best? There we go. Yeah, Tampa. Overlooking all that, and I was like, wow. And just seeing that look from above of things like going and moving, and you see, I had the luxury, and if you want a car, if you want a house, if that's some sort of physical thing, if you want to, maybe you've been to Greece before, but maybe you haven't been able to do it like you wanted to. But see, I had the luxury for my dream, for my goal, to actually go there and experience it, only for a moment. But I was able to go in there and open my eyes to the possibility and understand and make it so real. I was breathing the air of a high-rise condo. I was in it. I was envisioning myself living there. And then for some years, that fantasy, that dream drifted away. But it never went away. It was still always there in the back of my mind, something I always wanted. I never forgot, to this day, going in there and experiencing a high-rise condo for the first time. And saying, yep, this is where I need to be up. I'm like a bird. I want to be up and be able to see things and have that grand, inspiring vision. But eventually I was able to move into a high-rise. And I was able to, and I still talk to my wife, because my wife actually had the same goal. Even before we had met, she had actually had been reminiscing about living in a high-rise, or wanting to live in a high-rise. And it's just so funny how we ended up there, but it's something that we both wanted. And look, if you're married, if you've got a spouse, or maybe even if you're not married, if you've got a serious relationship with somebody who is part of your life, this might not even be a spouse. Maybe it's somebody that you care for, that you live with. Those people that are closest to you, if you could get them on the same page of what it is that you want to achieve, you'll be able to achieve those things so much faster. Even if they're just there in a supporting role, where they're there to help you and give you words of encouragement. Even if they're not necessarily part of that grander vision of how you achieve these things, but if they want the same things as you, if they could be there to be supportive, to always be that believer in what it is that you could possibly do, that could help you work miracles. I'm serious about that. So getting whoever your partners are, business partners, romantic partners, marital partners, whatever, getting those partners on the same page as you, essential. But if you don't know what page you're on, how are you going to get them on the same page? So that's why the goal setting and business planning is so important. Now, if you've heard of SMART goals before, you probably know these here. But you also want your goals to be actionable. Going to Greece, that's a great goal. And you know, at the time I had the goal, it was very specific so specific and so real, and I did make it measurable because I knew the money, I knew how much it cost. But it wasn't actionable, and that's probably the thing that made me fall off and didn't achieve that goal as quickly as I wanted to. Now, again, you're drifting through life. You're eventually going to drift to where it is that you want to go. Hopefully, if you're even just paddling the slightest down that river to help you point yourself in the right direction, you'll probably get to where it is that you want to be. But you probably don't want to wait, because remember, our most finite, the one thing, the one truly limited thing that we all have, and that we're losing every single day, is time. It's counting down. We're losing it every second. So we've got to make the minutes count. And I didn't have any plan that was actually actionable to get to that. I knew how much it cost. I knew what it looked like. It was very real, but I didn't have an actionable plan of attack of how I was going to go about achieving this. And this is, again, why if you have a real estate license, if you have not done post-licensing yet, you could take it as soon as you have your real estate license. If you haven't taken this yet, you might have big goals and big dreams, but if you don't have anything to actually make it actionable, to actually make it happen, the steps that you need to take to make this dream a reality, and you can't get specific and measurable about those actionable steps, because you want to use these same criteria for all different levels of checkpoints with your big end-all be-all goals that you want, but then also on the daily activities, the making phone calls to your clients, the prospecting for new business, all the things that you need to do to achieve these bigger goals and dreams, to be able to accomplish that mission of that future that you want. You have to do these at all levels, not just on that big goal, but what you're doing to hold yourself accountable on a daily, weekly, monthly, and annual basis. Now, this one is the one I would probably disagree with the most, because most average people don't need to hear this one. If you would say anything about anything it is that you've had before is maybe average, or you'd maybe fit in that criteria for average, and let's actually look up what is I don't want to waste time trying to look it all up, but I know the median income or like the middle class established income, I mean, that goes all the way up to I think like $250,000. I mean, when you fathom like the Jeff Bezos and the Elon Musk out there that just have billions, or what are they up to, trillions yet of dollars? They've got so much money, and if they're not at trillions yet, someone's going to be at trillions soon enough, because there's more and more money every single day. There's no limit on the money that's out there. It's going to keep going up, especially as there's more people, especially as there's more demand, especially as the world becomes more connected, and things move faster, and goods and services exchange faster. There's going to be more and more and more money being created. You could get your hands on that if you have an actionable plan of attack. And you could get your hands on a lot of that, so you don't really need to be reasonable. Now, if your plan is to go to the moon, all right, I'm going to tell you to be reasonable. Now, if you're just saying go to the moon because it's the hip thing to say, but really you've got a specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, reasonable plan. And maybe that's the word there for this, realistic. Maybe a little bit better than reasonable. Still not my favorite. This is the one I would really worry about the least. I'm going to put a single line through it just because if your life is in any way average and you don't want it to be average, unless you're saying like I want to go to space or I want to go to the moon or something, that, and really that's not even that, and maybe that is what you want to do. That's probably going to cost millions of dollars, but I bet you could probably go down to Kennedy Space Center here in Florida. I remember going there as a kid. You go sit in the little space suits, you go to the space camp and all the other stuff. Maybe that's what you're going to want to do because maybe you do want to go to the moon. Maybe that was your dream as a kid. And you know what? We live in the future now. And if you got enough money, you could probably go to the moon. No one's gone to the moon yet with the money, but people have gone to the space just because they have money. So if you've got money, you can go to space at least. And it probably won't be long before you go to the moon, probably Mars as well. So millions of dollars you're going to need. But I would still say that's even going to fall in the category of realistic. So that's why, again, what reality is kind of unreal. You might agree with me on that, especially if you've been around for a while. Things are moving faster. And again, that's a lot of things that lead into that. But one final thing you want to have with goals is targets. You can see how this smells smart. That's the clever thing there. These are called SMART goals when you set them up to be these things. But you need to have targets. You want to have basically mini goals. Mini goals, mini milestones, checkpoints that you could measure yourself. Because remember, you want to be able to measure everything, that you could measure yourself on a regular basis. Because if your goal is to someday get degrees, well, what is someday? And again, that's not specific. So anytime, and look, you might have to go through these goals a couple of times to really get to the point to where your goals are truly a good embodiment of something that is specific, measurable, actionable, realistic and reasonable, but still something that's going to get us excited in the morning. And do we have targets to achieve? Because that's really going to be the actionable part, is what steps do we take, what targets do we have, what can we measure to get specifically what we want, and what specifically do we have to do to get specifically what we want. And when you begin with the end in mind, let me know in the chat. If you're here on Facebook or YouTube, let me know in the chat if you've ever gone into a job interview before. I want to know. I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious if you've ever been to a job interview. I've been to a bunch of job interviews before. I wasn't always my own boss. Been to tons of job interviews. I mean, you think about it. Every person you're meeting on a daily basis, especially if there's something to be gained on one side or the other, really is an interview. So in that case, I still do interviews all the time. But think of any interview it is you've had at some job it is you've applied for. And and they've asked you, what's your biggest goal or dream? And you said you want to go to the moon. And they say, well, you know what, John? At ABC Realty or at Acme Products, we're going to help you get that dream of getting to the moon. What is Acme Products doing that me as any level of employee, and unless you're Jeff Bezos, I think Jeff Bezos is the only one that's pulled this off, that's been able to basically say, you know what, my goal is to go to the moon, and I'm going to have a completely unrelated business that's going to fund me going to the moon. But see, that was more of a personal thing. He was the boss. He was in charge of that. He was the CEO, so he could take all of his money and go to the moon with it, go to space. But, and even if you had a more realistic or reasonable goal, maybe you've gone into a job and they say, well, how much money do you want to make? And you say X amount of dollars, and they say, well, that's great, but you can't do that here. I mean, there you go. Immediately, this isn't aligned with what you want your future to be. And is there that discussion? Well, okay, that's what you want. Well, here's how you go about achieving that. And most jobs aren't set up like this, and that's because real estate is not a job. Real estate is a business. It's an investment in your future. And it can be something that can become completely passive, especially through real estate investing. But also it could still be very passive just by simply building a real estate team where you might still have some role to play, but you've got all these other moving parts. And the great thing is, you could create this team, and that's why I want to say when I talked about teams earlier, that not every team is like this, but there could be teams out there that truly open up new doors to a brighter future of more things it is you could accomplish. And if you can't find that team, you could build that team. And if you do want to build that team, I would find a program, some sort of brokerage that specifically works on developing new agents to build teams or build bigger businesses than themselves. Because not all brokerage teach things like that. And that's why, again, it's so important that you get back to your vision, your mission. I mean, if you're meeting with a broker who isn't asking what it is that you want, it could still be something that works for you, but then it's 100% on you. If that broker is not invested in your vision and mission, you could still be successful, but again, what it is you've got to realize is it's 100% on you then. Whereas if you've got a broker that's, curious, okay, what is it that you want your future to look like? What are you expecting to achieve with ABC Realty Group? What do you want to do? And then you tell them and they explain to you how you do that. Well, that is a place that would be a good fit probably. That's at least a good sign. I would still recommend doing more due diligence and making sure, again, what it is you're trying to do, the tools that you need, the trainings that you need, the marketing support that you might need. Maybe you want to be an investor. There's a lot of brokerages that teach real estate investing as well. What do you need from your broker? And then find the broker that provides that. And then find whatever other supplements you might need, because you could maybe join a real estate broker that offers you nothing. That's a broker in name only. And then you could build the rest of the puzzle yourself. Now, that is not something at all I'd recommend as a brand new agent, because you might not even know what this puzzle is supposed to look like. How are you going to put a puzzle together when you don't know what the finished product is supposed to look like, when you really don't know, you've never maybe ran a successful real estate business before. If you've maybe had a real estate business in another state and you're coming to Florida, okay, that's a different story. But if you've never ran a real estate business before, even if you've ran businesses, even if you've worked in real estate, putting that all together, I would recommend help. And there's brokers out there that are willing to give the help. Now, it comes at a cost. Every brokerage is going to come at some sort of cost, whether that's a commission split or some sort of monthly or annual fees or transaction fees or something like that. Because they're a business, they're in business to make money as well. And if they're not selling real estate themselves, the way they make money is either by just head count and they just make money from having people, or by you actually selling. Or they could be selling real estate themselves, but if that's the case, they usually don't have time to help grow and develop you, so that's usually not a good fit for new agents. But again, as you start to ask the right questions, as you start to get more familiar with your vision, your mission, what it is that you want out of real estate, the answers are going to seem much more obvious. If you ever heard that phrase before, if you ask yourself the right questions, the answers are going to be obvious. You might find yourself stumped, not sure, not knowing. Maybe you're just asking bad questions. Maybe it's not the questions that you need to be asking at this point in your real estate career. Maybe the question is, what do I do for this? What do I do for that? What do I do for this? Maybe the question is, have you taken post-licensing yet? Like I said, that's such a fundamental course that you want to do as soon as you have your real estate license, because there's so much that you'll learn about how to actually use your license to make money. Not just the laws and rules that you need to know to pass your real estate exam, but again, how do you actually use this to fund your future? How do you build something bigger than yourself? How do you make something that's specific, actionable, measurable, realistic, but again, something that still gets you excited in the morning and where you've got daily targets to keep yourself accountable, to keep yourself on track, to keep yourself working towards this greater future, this brighter future, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve there. Yeah, Mike, you're right. Exactly. It takes money to make money, especially with investing. It takes one of these two things, probably a combination of the two, for pretty much anything. anything you want in the world, anything that you want that's realistically you're able to attain, you could get with one of two things: time or money. Or maybe some other physical item that's valuable. And that's basically what we just consider money to be. The only reason money has any value is because we says it has value. If we didn't say it had value, we wouldn't, it would be just a piece of paper. But because we trust and believe the value of it, just like, like gold, diamonds, whatever things that might be considered valuable, it's because we consider it valuable. Just like money, we consider it valuable. But what's more valuable than all these things that is really finite, that science has maybe figured out how to extend it, to prolong it a little bit more, but that's time. That is the one thing that eventually our sand will run out. It's ticking down right now, right this moment. If that makes you a little anxious, think about this. What do you want? Because if you're living your ideal life, your best life, and you have everything you want, that's a new kind of crazy that, they make movies about and write stories about. But the reality is you never get everything it is that you want. But as you are able to be in a more comfortable, confident position of control of your future, of your life, to where if you want to spend time with your family, you're not required to go punch a clock at some certain time because that's when you're scheduled. You make your own schedule. You're your own boss in real estate. But you got to be the boss. And part of being the boss is having a specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, but still excited business plan with targets. Yes, absolutely, Nicole. Glad you guys are definitely getting some value from today. Look, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we've got more on business planning, goal setting, on unlocking that ideal future in 2022. Stick with us. I'm John Crismo. You're watching State of Real Estate. So you just got your real estate license. How can you jumpstart your real estate business? The number one thing you should do before you do anything else is post-licensing. Now look, this is already a requirement, so you're gonna have to do it anyways, but here's why you wanna do it early. The sooner you do post-licensing, the sooner you're gonna learn the real-world concepts in post-licensing that will help you create a business plan, that'll help you plan for your success in real estate. Post-licensing is all about real-world topics that are usable, that'll help you grow your real estate business. And at Tampa School of Real Estate, we have the best post-licensing courses around. Find out more about how post-licensing can help you jumpstart your real estate career. Go to postflorida.com. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is John Crismo. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. Just going through the live chat here on Facebook. Thank you guys, everyone, for tuning in, and I'm glad everyone is enjoying today's content. If you want more episodes, more information on goal setting, on business planning, we still got a bunch of time for 2022. So if you guys want to see more videos like this, hit the thumbs up button for us today so we know business planning, goal setting, building a better, brighter future is what you want to hear about. And we'll do more videos and more content on how you unlock that ideal future in real estate. Let us know in the comments if you want us to do more about goal setting, business planning. What are some of the goals? What are the things that are getting you excited? What it is that you want to achieve? If you want to maybe put out there positive affirmations about building a brighter future, put it in the comments. Let us know. What do you want to achieve? We might just make an episode about it. How do you go on a trip to Greece? What does this cost? What does this break down to? How do you buy a high-rise condo? What does it cost? How do you get there? How many houses do you need to sell? Do you need 2 years of it? We can even get into specifics into even some loan stuff. If you guys want us to bring on a mortgage lender, we've got a lot of mortgage brokers, loan originators that we work with that we can bring on the show to talk more about mortgage lending. And Sherry, I believe we actually have some in January coming up for post-licensing. There's actually a bunch coming up for post-licensing in person as well as live stream classes in January, February, and March, because there are a bunch of people that are getting these done right before the renewal deadline. If you haven't done your post-licensing yet and you've already got your real estate license, don't stress out that you blew it because you didn't do it right away. That's not the point of my message. The point of my message is get it as soon as you can. And, you know, sometimes that might be a month out or so. And we do have an on-demand program that you can begin anytime, any place. We actually have a new year, new career special we're running on that right now at tampaschool.com for our on-demand interactive format that you could start right now. You have 1 year access to get it done within that 1 year. But yeah, we have live stream and in-person classes coming up, a bunch of them in again in January, February, and March. Call us up at the phone here. There might not be everything showing on there. I believe we do have something coming up in January. It might be towards the end of January, but I'm almost positive we've got a post-licensing coming up in January. The phone number is 813-333-2676. If anything on the website or the internet or anything like that confuses you in any way, I get it. We live in the disinformation age, I like to say. So there's so much contradictory information out there. And it's not even always bad information. Sometimes it's just TMI. Sometimes it's too much information. So we live in the disinformation and too much information age. And that's where we see our role here in this day and age here, is not to give you as much info as we can, but to give you the most pertinent, applicable info that is going to be the least amount of information that gives you the greatest results, the biggest returns. To keep it simple, to get back to our number one core value at the Tampa School Real Estate. But yeah, so that's we've got advisors here to answer any questions you have, go over the schedule, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes we have classes that haven't even been put on the schedule yet, that if you call in, they might be able to see if we've got anything coming up or maybe in the pipeline for a certain location or a certain area or anything like that. And we also do have live stream courses that you could attend an instructor-led class just like it would be in the classroom, but you could do that from anywhere you have an internet connection as well. And that goes for our pre-licensing, post-licensing, broker pre-licensing, broker post-licensing. We have pretty much all of our courses now available through live stream as well as the classroom and on-demand formats as well. But again, if you're not sure what's the best fit for you or what do you need, or again, you've got any questions at all, call us up. I don't hear our phones ringing off the hook right now, so let's see if we can make that happen. I want to be able to hire more people here, and I want more phone calls. If we have more phone calls, we're forced to hire more people here. So give us a call, 813-333-2676. Help us hire more people. Give us phone calls. Let us know how it is that we could help you. What information you need, again, what classes you might need. What is you're trying to accomplish in your future? And maybe you're already enrolled in a course. We've got an instructor support line as well. If you do have any questions or anything like that, let us help you and guide you and point you in the right direction. That's ultimately what we're here for at the Tampa School of Real Estate. Yeah, definitely. We'll see what we can do and get some topics on for mortgages and some of those related things as well. And again, if there's anything else that is you guys want to learn more about, hear more about, let us know in the comments. Hit a thumbs up if you've liked today's episode. Make sure you hit that bell icon so you get notifications whenever it is that we go live, whenever it is that we have new information to help you grow your real estate business. You hit that bell icon, you're going to get notifications for that. You could also drop in your email anywhere at tampaschool.com, and then you'll also get email notifications whenever it is that we have new information, as well as specials and promos to help you grow your real estate business. But that's all the time we've got for today. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week for Ask the Instructor.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate.